Yes friends, now let us talk about some of the changes which are purely under Customs Act, not under FTP. We have already discussed changes which are with regard to FTP. Now under Customs Act, there is a specific section which talks about the re-importation of goods. Like I believe all of you have referred that there is section 20 which talks about re-importation of goods. Now what is the logic of re-importation and why they have created some exceptional provision for that? Let us just try and talk about that. When I say re-importation of goods, it means that the goods that has been exported from India are returning to India. So the goods that has been exported from India are coming back to India. We call that as re-importation of goods. And as per section 20, in case of re-importation of goods, prima facie, law ये कह रहा है कि as if goods have been imported for the first time in India, all taxes should be charged. Again I am saying, as per section 20, in case of re-importation, as if goods have been imported in India for the first time, all duties and taxes should be charged. So accordingly, Indian government will charge all duties and taxes. But now when you speak logically, so for example, let us say, मैं ही यहाँ से goods export कर रहा हूँ और मेरा customer reject कर देता है वो goods and वही goods मैं वापस मंगवाता हूँ, and then in that case if I say that as if the re-importation has taken place, all duties and taxes should be charged, then it's I think pathetic, because I am already bearing a loss of rejection by the customer, and now if government says now you pay all the duties and taxes considering basic custom duty, IGST and all those things, then it's going to be a big burden on me. So this has to be modified. So in re-importation of goods, they have created exceptions. In and all, they have created 3 exceptions. The first exception is generally applicable when goods which has been exported have been rejected, and by way of rejection they are coming back to India. The second exception is applicable when goods are coming to India for the, goods are coming to India after repairs. So meaning thereby like my basic objective of sending goods outside India was to get it repaired. So I have sent it outside India for the purpose of repair, and the person who is outside India has repaired it and now is giving back to me. So after repair, when it comes back, so again I don't have to pay all the taxes. There is a provision created saying that pay tax only on fair market value of the goods. So there is a second number point. So first is goods are coming back to India by way of rejection, no need to pay tax. Second is goods are coming back after repair. So the objective of sending it outside India was for repair, and they are coming back after repair. So you pay taxes, there is something called only on fair market value of those goods. So I'm not either talking about first exception, I'm not talking about second exception. My point is third exception. This is actually third exception for which there is an amendment. What was third exception? Third exception was very clear. Let us say goods that has been exported from India. हमारा business है export का, हमने export किया था. जिस customer को मैंने provide किया था, he is sending goods for repair to India, or he is sending goods to India for the purpose of some reprocessing. So that is where third exception comes in. कोई बोले what is the difference between second and third? Friends, in second we are sending goods abroad for repair and they are coming back. In third, from abroad. So like मैंने goods export किए थे और वो goods जिस पार्टी को दिए थे वो वहाँ बिगड़ जाते हैं, तो he is sending that back to me for the purpose of repair, or he is sending it back to me for some type of reprocessing or reconditioning or refinishing or something like that. So second, in which I am sending goods for repair. In third, the person to whom I have sent goods outside India, he is sending it for the repair. So in that case, this clause was applicable, which says that at the time of repair, when goods are coming to India, no taxes will be charged, provided that repair or reconditioning will be done within limited time period. The timeline was mentioned as 3 years, and within 3 years after repair, we send it back. So if we send it back after repair within 3 years timeline, then no taxes will be charged by government of India. That is the particular point which was there in law, and this is an older provision. So now someone says, what is an amendment in this? So small amendment has been brought, friend, a very small change. What? Then they have said that this word has been added, which says goods manufactured in India and exported and are getting re-imported for what purpose? Repair. Or for what purpose? Reconditioning, other than the specified goods. So there are some specified goods, if they have been exported from India, if they are coming back to India for the purpose of repair, for the purpose of reconditioning, then also this section number 20 is not applicable. So this section 20 is specifically applicable for repair. Goods exported, and are coming back for repair or are coming back for reconditioning. So section 20 says, okay, no import duty, we give you an exception. ठीक है, so हमें ड्यूटी भरने की जरूरत नहीं है, but that exception is applicable only in case of other than specified goods. So there are specified goods for which even this provision is not applicable. Now comes the question as, so what do we mean by that specified goods? So that government will specify by notification. When such notification will come, maybe God knows. But as of now, there is no such notification that which specified goods are there. But yes, government has a power to specify goods, and in respect of those specified goods, this exception is not applicable. So in short, if I put a summary, so re-importation is very clear. As if goods are coming back to India for the first time, all duties and taxes should be charged. In some cases, it should not charge. One of such case is goods exported from India are coming back to India for the purpose of repair or reconditioning. In such case, we will not charge any duties and taxes. However, if specified goods will come for repair or reconditioning, then such exemption is not available, so government will charge duties and taxes. Very important, what are those specified goods? That government will specify by notification. As of now, nothing is specified. So this is just a small amendment which has been brought, and I think this is what we need to consider with regard to re-importation of goods under section 20. Now let us look at the next amendment, which is with regard to, I think, provisional assessment of the goods. So provisional assessment of goods के regarding एक छोटा सा change है, which is with regard to procedural aspects. Regulations amend किए हुए हैं, but let us just try and understand that. Hello friends, in this video we'll talk about the amendments applicable for May 2019 exam. First we'll talk about the guidelines issued by ICCA, which talks about the applicabilities and inapplicabilities for the exams of 2019. Once we are done with that, one by one we'll start with each topic of indirect tax subject, and we'll talk about the amendments of the respective subject. So let us first try and discuss that what guideline says actually. What are the points that one has to ignore from the study material issued by ICCA? So let us just try and talk about that. One of the first point is with regard to levy and collection chapter of the GST, whereby they very clearly say that what are the points. I mean, to be very precise, entire levy and collection chapter given under the study material is on as it is basis with certain amendments, obviously is applicable for May 2019 exam, but three things are not applicable, and I think those who have those who are following this, the same methodology or a modus operandi was followed by ICCA in May 2018 exam. The same was also applied in November 2018 exam, and same is now applicable for May 2019 exam. What are the points? Very clearly, any rate with regard to supply of goods or supply of services is not applicable for the exams. I think if you have referred the study material, they have given you the list of all the services which are liable for GST along with their rates. So for example, if I say that renting of immovable property, so if that is liable for GST, then that is given under the GST, under the study material as it is covered under 18% tax slab. Now practically speaking, हजारों services हैं and हर service का अपना खुद का एक GST का rate है. So technically you can't mug up everything. So what they have said is none of the rate, or whether it is with regard to goods or it is with regard to services, are going to be applied for your exam. So though your study material or your ICCA module says that ये services के ऊपर ये rate prescribed है, but that is not applicable for exams. So rates with regard to supply of goods, rates with regard to supply of services are not relevant for the purpose of exam at all, at all. Now we talk about exemptions. So I think everyone is aware that exemption chapter है, जो हमारा 4th number का chapter है, that is exemption chapter, उसमें भी they have given exemptions. In starting they have talked about 1 or 2 exemptions with regard to goods, and then they have given a list of the exemptions which are applicable with regard to services. Now practically speaking, services का exemption हमारे लिए definitely applicable है. However, when we talk about exemption with regard to goods, then none of the exemption is applicable for May 2019 exam, but only with regard to exemption prevailing on goods. When I say exemption prevailing on services, all of them are applicable for May 2019 exam, and in that case, yes, you have to follow exemption of services. Keep that in mind, that is one of the most important chapter for exam. So exemption for services shall not be ignored, but exemption for goods will not be considered for May 2019 exam. And as I said, all the three things were same to same applied for November 2018 exam also, and again for May 2018 exam also. Moving ahead with that, we have fifth point which talks about the manner of distribution, or let's say not even manner, it is with regard to ITC, input tax credit chapter. So to be very precise, input tax credit is entirely applicable for May 2019 exam, but only key which is an exception is with regard to taxes paid on gold bar. So basically specific provision brought for gold if on import of that product or on purchase of that product there is an additional duty applicable, and additional duty of which you have taken ITC, then that ITC is required to be reversed. Now there is a specific provision created under CGST Act with regard to that, but such provision is not applicable for May 2019 exam. So simply ignore this point. Okay? There is a reversal requirement of additional duty claimed on gold bars, but that is purely not applicable, specifically removed from the from the applicability of exam. From Act it has not been removed, it is still there in Act, but from the applicability of the exam perspective, this provision has been very clearly removed. So we don't have to consider, and to be very precise, students also don't consider that. This is a specific provision implemented from the practical perspective. Such specific industry-wise provision generally ICI don't ask in exam, because it becomes a specific issue. There are chances that students might have worked in that industry, there are chances students might not have worked in that industry. So it probably is very difficult to ask industry-wise questions. They only ask general questions in exam. So considering that also, you may, most of you might have ignored that point, but even if you have done it, keep this in mind that reversal of credit with regard to additional duty applicable on gold bars is not to be considered. So I think everybody understand that point also. Now moving towards the procedural aspects. So based on the, to be very precise, CGST rules and IGST rules are fully applicable for the exam. Even CGST Act and IGST Act is fully applicable for the purpose of exam. But few exceptional provisions has been kept aside. Like all of us are as of now aware that half of the returns have been closed and has been removed from the system. So GSTR 1 is there. But based on that 2A gets generated, which is still there, but further GSTR 2 has been removed practically from the Act itself. GSTR 1A has been removed practically from the Act itself. Then what is the logic of keeping that in exam syllabus also? So that is why they have said GSTR 2 is no longer applicable, GSTR 1A is no longer applicable, even GSTR 3 which is no longer applicable, GSTR 7 which is no longer applicable, GSTR 8 which is no longer applicable. Now precisely speaking, GSTR 2, 1A and 3 has been actually removed from the law itself. And because of that, there is no question of making them applicable for 2019 exam, May 2019. But to be very precise, GSTR 7 and 8 has been removed only from exam. It is not removed from law. And to be very precise, it is to be filed by every person who is dealing with the respective provision. Like as we understand, this 7 and 8 is applicable with regard to TCS and TDS. So TDS के लिए GSTR 7 है and TCS वाले provisions के लिए GSTR 8 है, तो ये दोनों तो आज applicable है. In fact TCS, TDS के provisions May 2019 exam के लिए fully applicable है. However, they have said GSTR 7 and GSTR 8 is not applicable for the purpose of exam. So TDS, TCS we will cover up, but GSTR 7 and GSTR 8 is not at all to be studied from the exam perspective. शायद नवंबर 2009 के व्यू पॉइंट से जाए तो मोस्टली GSTR 7 एंड 8 भी अप्लाई हो जाना चाहिए, बट मे 2009 के व्यू पॉइंट से, मे 2019 के व्यू पॉइंट से तो ये 110% एप्लीकेबल नहीं है. नवंबर 2019 यस मे बी इट इज गोइंग टू बी अप्लाइड, बिकॉज टिल देन आई थिंक बहुत सारे रिटर्न्स फाइल भी हो गए होंगे अंडर दैट कैटेगरी ऑफ GSTR 7 एंड 8. So we don't have to study that from May 2019 perspective. So I think everyone is clear with that. More important, जो matching का concept है, ITC and liability का, that concept has been covered by section 42 and 43 of CGST Act. That concept is no longer applicable from the exams perspective. Why it is not applicable? Because actually matching concept depends on GSTR 1 of supplier and GSTR 2 of recipient. And if there is some problem is there, then that should get reflected ultimately in terms of either increased liability or reduction in ITC. That is the concept of matching GSTR 1 and GSTR 2. But since GSTR 2 itself has been abolished, has been removed from the law, So there is no question of matching ITC, because for matching ITC 1 के साथ 2 मैच होना चाहिए, 2 ही नहीं है तो क्या matching? So that is where ultimately matching concept has been removed. So section 42 and 43 has been removed. So ultimately the point number 3 and point number 4 has been removed from the law. And because of that, जो provisional ITC का claim है वो भी remove हो गया, because provisional ITC का concept बचता ही नहीं है. So second number का point उसके कारण बाहर निकल गया. So second number, third number and fourth number, none of them are applicable. Moving ahead with that, there is fifth number point which talks about reverse charge mechanism. So I think everyone is aware that reverse charge mechanism is mainly covered under section 9.3. 9.3 talks about compulsory reverse charge. So then there is section 9.4 which talks about unregistered supplier providing goods or services to registered recipient. So that is 9.4. Supplier is unregistered, recipient is registered. That is covered by section 9.4. And then there is section 9.5 where we talk about e-commerce transactions. So goods or services supplied through e-commerce operator, where if specified suppliers are there, then the liability to pay tax is not of the supplier, rather it is of e-commerce operator. So that is section 9.5. I think more or less we always take an example of Ola and Uber in that respect. So total 3 reverse charge, 9.3, 9.4, 9.5. Now 9.4 has been again made redundant because उसे exempt कर दिया, and that will remain exempt till 30th September 2019. So there is no question of asking that in May 2019 exam. May 2019 exam, sorry. Similar way, 9.5 है, that is fully applicable for May 2019 exam. But जो 9.3 का provision है, that is where compulsory reverse charge we say, that means specified goods or services है जिसके ऊपर government already notify कर चुका है कि इन goods और services के ऊपर always reverse charge ही apply होगा, तो उनकी मैं बात कर रहा हूँ. उसमें जो गुड्स का रिवर्स चार्ज है और जो सर्विसेज का रिवर्स चार्ज है, उसमें हमारे सिलेबस में ओनली सर्विसेज का रिवर्स चार्ज है. सो जो गुड्स का रिवर्स चार्ज मैकेनिज्म है अंडर सेक्शन 9.3, जैसे कि एग्जांपल के तौर पे कैश्यू नट्स इज वन ऑफ द बेस्ट एग्जांपल. अगर मैं फार्मर हूँ और मैं कैश्यू नट्स ग्रो करता हूँ और मैं वो किसी कंपनी को बेचता हूँ विच इज़ अ प्रोसेसिंग हाउस, सो जो रॉ कैश्यू नट्स मैं उन्हें दूंगा वो उसे प्रोसेस करके प्रोसेस गुड्स को अल्टीमेटली मार्केट तक ले जाते हैं. सो कैश्यू नट्स प्रोवाइडेड टू द प्रोसेसिंग हाउसेज is liable for tax and liable for tax under RCM, where the responsibility to pay tax is on the recipient. So that is where we consider again compulsory reverse charge notified under section 9.3. But what is mentioned by ICI or what is prescribed by ICI is with regard to 9.3, certain goods are also there and certain services are also there on which RCM is applicable. So जो services का list है that will always remain for exam. जो goods का list है that is not going to be applicable for the purpose of exam. So I think that is where fifth point is applicable. Categories of supply of goods on which tax is payable under reverse charge mechanism under section 9.3. It is not applicable for the purpose of exam. So I think everyone understands with regard to CGST Act and CGST rules में से कौन सी चीजें applicable नहीं है. Apart from that, whole CGST Act and CGST rules are applicable for the purpose of May 2019 exam. In same way is IGST Act. So it very clearly says like under CGST Act we have RCM. So same way under IGST Act also we have RCM. Like in CGST Act it is covered by section 9.3, then under IGST Act it is covered by section 5.3. So it is very clear that certain goods or services are liable for tax under RCM applying section 9.3 or applying section 5.3. That same concept which is there in 9.3 which says certain goods liable for tax under RCM is not applicable for May 2019 exam, same is over here. So certain goods which are liable for tax under RCM applying section 5.3 again is not applicable for the purpose of exam. The last one is with regard to under the other provisions chapter there is something called transitional provisions. Now transitional provisions were mainly related to shifting from old law to new law. And since it is almost 2 years from shifting of law, this as of now is not that relevant. So very specifically it has been kept aside from May 2019 exams. Transitional provisions are no longer relevant. In fact, I am very sure that more or less in future ये sections को ही abolish कर दिया जाएगा because they are transitional provisions and as of now they are not relevant. So future में तो ये sections को रखने का भी कोई logic बनेगा नहीं. Maybe 5 years, 10 years down the line, such amendment will be brought and those sections will be abolished. This is what I assume. And once that will be abolished, there is no question that it is going to be there in exam. But as of now, it is not abolished, but from the exams perspective, it has been very clearly mentioned as this is not going to be applicable. So the first list that we have referred so far is कौन सी चीजें applicable होगी या कौन सी चीजें applicable नहीं होगी. Now let us move ahead with this. There are certain retrospective amendments that government has brought during the year. Now, what are the applicabilities and inapplicabilities with regard to retrospective amendments? Because amendments have been brought on a particular date. However, it has been brought with regard to retrospective basis. So, whether they are applicable for us on a retrospective basis or not. So, for that, it has been very clearly clarified as Section 7, यानी जो हमारा supply का main section है वो. वहाँ पे एक छोटा सा अमेंडमेंट लाया गया है. क्या है वो मैं आपको करवा रहा हूँ. सेक्शन 7 सब सेक्शन 1 और सेक्शन 3 के रिगार्डिंग एक छोटा सा अमेंडमेंट लाया गया है. Those sections are applicable with a retrospective effect for your exam. So section 3 of CGST Amendment Act, which actually amends section 7 of original CGST Act. So कोई बोले कि sir that means section 3 of CGST Act original act में amendment है. No friends. See, you need to understand is CGST के लिए एक amendment act पास हुआ है. That act has been passed in 2018. That act has a section 3 which is amending section 7 of CGST Act. मैं वापस बोल रहा हूँ. Original CGST Act is CGST Act 2017 जिसके section 7 के अंदर supply की definition दी गई है. उस definition को amend करने के लिए एक amendment act पास हुआ है. वो जो amendment पास हुआ है, act पास हुआ है, that is CGST Amendment Act 2018. So via CGST Amendment Act 2018, certain changes have been brought in CGST Act 2017. Via CGST Amendment Act 2018, certain changes have been brought in CGST Act 2017. So via CGST Amendment Act 2018, Section 3, they have amended Section 7 of CGST Act 2017, providing retrospective effect. So that is applicable for your exams. So it is as good as the amendment has been brought via Amendment Act 2018. However, it should be considered from very first day, and such amendment from very first day is also applicable for May 2019 paper. Similar way, Section 31 of CGST Amendment Act 2018 has amended Schedule 2 of CGST Act 2017. So that is also applicable with retrospective effect of 1st July 2017, and that is also applicable for the exam. We will discuss that. Both the points we will discuss. Section 7 of CGST Act 2017 and usi ka component है Schedule 2 of CGST Act 2017. Both of them are applicable for your exam, providing retrospective effect. Moving ahead with that, there is very clearly a point has been created that under section 140 of CGST Act, so meaning thereby we talk about transitional provisions, that is not applicable. So actually speaking, यहाँ पे भी एक retrospective amendment आया है. मैं बता देता हूँ कौन सी चीज़ का है. KKC की credit के regarding है, कृषि कल्याण सेस की credit के regarding एक retrospective amendment लाया गया है through CGST Amendment Act 2018. And that KKC credit relates to pre-GST laws. So basically, since that relates to pre-GST law, it is part and parcel of transitional provision section 140. But since transitional provisions are not applicable for exam, then actually speaking, ये जो section 140 के अंदर KKC की credit के लिए amendment लाया गया है, that is also not applicable for the exams perspective. So actually दो चार जगह है जहाँ पे retrospective amendments आए हैं, but उसमें से ये दोनों retrospective amendments है जो आपकी exam के लिए applicable है. ये जो retrospective amendment है, which is with regard to KKC credit under section 140 of CGST Act, that is not applicable for your exam. So I think everyone is clear with regard to that. But except this exclusions which we have discussed, everything else which is given in your study material is straight away applicable for 2019 exam, May 2019 exam. So I think friends, everybody is clear with regard to applicabilities and inapplicabilities of May 2019 exam. Just keep this in mind that you refer all the relevant amendments. Obviously, followed by this, we will definitely discuss the entire amendment, everything that is relevant for the purpose of exam. But this is prima facie guidelines, and this guidelines very clearly says what are the applicabilities and inapplicabilities for 2019 exam. So I think everybody is clear with regard to this applicabilities and inapplicabilities. Now let us just try and understand one by one each amendment for May 2019 exam. Yes friends, let us just first start with an amendment of Customs Act, and to be very precise, in Customs Act also the first amendment that we are starting is with regard to foreign trade policies. Now foreign trade policy mainly they have covered 3 different points which are very important from the exam's perspective. So let us try and talk about all those 3 points. There are 3 main changes that has been brought with regard to which policy? Foreign trade policy. Let us analyze each of them. One of the first point that has been brought as amendment is with regard to a scheme called MEIS scheme. MEIS scheme, I think everybody understand, comes under a reward category. In reward category, there is a scheme called Merchandise Export from India scheme with regard to which an amendment has been brought. So that is one of the first amendment. The second amendment that I am talking about is with regard to 1 crore limit, which is again given under reward scheme, but in reward scheme there is a particular point called status holder. So with regard to status holder scheme, there is an amendment. So under reward category we had 3 schemes. One is MEIS, another is ACCA, and another is status holder. So there is an amendment with regard to MEIS scheme, there is an amendment with regard to status holder scheme. There is no amendment with regard to ACCA scheme. And yes, obviously I'll explain all these amendments. I'm just as of now briefing the amendments are with regard to which provisions. And the third amendment is with regard to advance authorization, is with regard to EPCG scheme, and is also with regard to EOUs. ये तीनों के लिए कॉमन अमेंडमेंट है, एंड दैट इज विथ रिगार्ड टू एप्लीकेबिलिटी ऑफ IGST एंड GST कंपनसेशन सेस. मैं वापस बोल रहा हूँ, जो थर्ड अमेंडमेंट है दैट रिलेट्स टू ऑल द 3 schemes. इट इज विथ रिगार्ड टू एडवांस ऑथराइजेशन स्कीम विच कम्स अंडर ड्यूटी एग्जम्पशन कैटेगरी. There is EPCG scheme, there is altogether a separate category for them which is export promotion on capital goods, and there is a separate scheme for EOU. So in all the 3 schemes there is a common amendment, and that amendment is with regard to applicability of IGST and GST compensation cess provided under Customs Act. So let us just try and talk about all the 3 changes. It's better we first start with the last change which I have mentioned, as that is with regard to applicability of IGST and GST compensation cess when we import goods, and specifically when we import goods under advance authorization scheme, under EPCG scheme, and the third one as we understand as EOU category. Now let us try and first understand the scenario or case. What happens is, let us say if we import some goods from outside India, on a normal cases we pay basic custom duty. Along with that we also pay IGST, and if GST compensation cess is applicable, then yes, we pay that also. IGST is applicable under section 3.8 of Customs Tariff Act, 3.7 of Customs Tariff Act, and GST compensation cess is applicable under 3.9, section 3.9 of Customs Tariff Act. So both these taxes are applicable along with the basic custom duty which is applicable on import of goods. Now let us try and understand that from the advance authorization scheme. So when I talk about advance authorization scheme, this very clearly says that if you import something, on import government is giving you an exemption. That exemption means you don't pay any tax under advance authorization scheme, subject to condition that whatever material you import will be used in processing of finished goods, and finished goods will be exported. So since we are exporting finished goods, government is allowing us to acquire material without payment of taxes. That is, again I am saying, you can import under advance authorization, you can import material without payment of tax, subject to condition that it will be used in processing of finished goods, and that finished goods will be exported. And since we are exporting finished goods, so there is an exemption available with regard to imported material on which government has given an exemption. So I am clearly talking about which scheme? I am talking about advance authorization scheme. On a parallel basis, there is EPCG scheme which allow you to acquire capital goods without payment of tax, subject to condition that उसमें से finished goods बना के आपको export करना है, या फिर वो service provider के लिए भी है, तो you acquire capital goods and you use that in providing services, and service should be provided outside India. So that is export services. And the same category is for EOU also. So EOU के लिए भी same criteria है कि you acquire goods without payment of tax, subject to condition कि उसमें से finished goods बना के आप export करोगे या services export करोगे. So basically in all the 3 schemes, because you are exporting, so government is waiving your taxes applicable on import. whether it is material or it is capital goods. On both the cases, you import, government is giving you an exemption. Now, a question comes in as, here what will be the meaning of the exemption? Whether only on imported goods, like as we have discussed, we charge basic custom duty, we also charge IGST, and in some cases we also charge GST compensation cess. So when I say government will provide exemption, whether it will be exemption only from basic custom duty or it will be exemption from basic custom duty as well as IGST as well as GST compensation cess. So when initially GST Act came in on 1st July 2017, in initial phase, I am particularly using the word as initial phase, the law was very clear that yes, exemption will remain on basic custom duty as well as will remain on IGST and GST compensation cess. However, the exemption of IGST and GST compensation cess will remain in effect only up to 30th September. My words are very clearly 30th September, 30th September 2018. Till that date only, the exemption of IGST and GST compensation cess will remain. The exemption of basic custom duty should remain lifetime. But the exemption of IGST and GST compensation cess should remain in effect only up to 30th September 2018. At a later stage, government said that yes, we are extending this date from 30th September 2018 till 31st March 2019. So meaning thereby this exemption will remain in effect up to 31st March 2019. My words are very clear, 31st March 2019. So the point is very, very clear that when you import some goods, so as of now, if you say that on import, am I supposed to pay taxes? Subject to condition कि अगर मैं उसमें से फिनिश गुड्स बना के एक्सपोर्ट करने वाला हूं तो मुझे इंपोर्ट के ऊपर टैक्सेस नहीं भरने हैं. कौन सा टैक्स? बेसिक कस्टम ड्यूटी कि IGST and GST compensation cess also. So prior to this amendment, it was very clear that 1st October 2018 के बाद बेसिक कस्टम ड्यूटी exempt रहेगा, IGST and GST compensation cess taxable रहेगा. However, since this date has been extended till 31st March 2019, so the provision is very clear, basic custom duty will also remain exempt and IGST and GST compensation cess will also remain exempt. So today, if you say you are using advance authorization scheme, you are using EPCG scheme, you are using EOU scheme, in any of that scheme if you fall, then your basic custom duty as well as IGST will remain exempt till 31st March 2019. So that amendment is, I think, very clear. Just keep this in mind, this exemption जो extend हुआ है IGST और GST compensation cess का, that is only with regard to advance authorization scheme, EOU scheme and EPCG scheme. It is not applicable with regard to DFIA scheme. So duty free import authorization जो scheme है, along with the advance authorization, like advance authorization के लिए exemption है, but I believe everybody is aware that advance authorization के साथ एक और scheme है called DFIA, under which category? Duty exemption category. Duty exemption category में total दो schemes है. Number 1 advance authorization, number 2 DFIA. So for advance authorization, the exemption has been extended, while for DFIA, the exemption has not been given. So in that case, if I say I import goods under advance authorization scheme, my exemption of basic as well as IGST and compensation cess will be there. If I import goods under DFIA scheme, my exemption of basic will remain, but there is no exemption with regard to IGST or GST compensation cess. So I think everybody is clear with regard to this amendment. In a simple word, IGST and GST compensation cess के ऊपर जो exemption है, the date has been extended up to 31st March 2019 only under the scheme of advance authorization, EPCG and EOU. No other scheme under foreign trade policy. Okay, let us move ahead. Let us talk about some more amendments under the category. There is an exemption, there is an amendment with regard to 1 crore limit given under status holder. Now let me just first explain where is an actual amendment. So I believe everybody is aware that there is a status holder scheme where you get certain specified status depending on the goods exported by you during the relevant period, or even services exported by you during the relevant period. What is the criteria? So if you export goods or services worth more than $3 million, or more, then in that case they give you a status called 1-star export house. If your exports performance is above $25 million, they give you 2-star export house. If it is above $100 million, they give you 3-star export house. If it is above $500 million, they give you 4-star export house. And if it is above $2,000 million, they give you 5-star export house. So basically they give you 5 different status: 1-star, 2-star, 3-star, 4-star, 5-star, depending on the export performances. Now the point is, let us say I qualify under any of that status, maybe 1-star, 2-star, 3-star, 4-star, 5-star, कोई भी category में fall हो गया. If I fall under any of that category, so government gives me certain incentives. One of the incentive is free of cost. See, generally what happens is कि मैं goods को export करूँगा तो obviously customer से पैसा लेने वाला हूँ. So I am generating foreign exchange. So if I am generating foreign exchange, government should give me lot of incentives. But when I say मैं free of cost basis पे किसी को goods export कर रहा हूँ, why should I do that? So maybe it's a promotional activity. I mean sampling होता है ना, जैसे marketing. कि मान लो कि मेरे जो customers हैं उनको मैं अब तक X product बेचता था. Now today I am launching Y product, or I am launching Z product, or something like that. Or let us say I am dealing only in X product, but अब तक मेरा एक customer था. Now I am sourcing someone else. So for that I need to do certain marketing activities. So maybe some products as in free sample मैं distribute करूँगा वहाँ पे to source more customers. So ये जो free sample मैं इंडिया के बाहर लेके जा रहा हूँ on free of cost basis, उसमें तो foreign exchange generate नहीं हो रहा है. So foreign exchange generate करूँ तो government incentive दे. Why otherwise government should give me any incentive? So if I make export and generate foreign exchange, okay, I am getting incentive. But if I am giving on free of cost basis, then government should not give me incentive. So for that, government has also kept a limit कि हम आपको इतनी amount तक का ही free of cost sampling देने देंगे, उससे ज़्यादा नहीं दे देंगे. For export promotion objective only. But free of cost sampling should be allowed only up to some limit, not beyond that. So in law, that limit was prescribed from first day. Under FTP, the limit was prescribed. What was that limit? So there were 2 limits. Number 1 limit was rupees 1 crore or 2% of average amount of goods exported in preceding 3 years. वापस बोल रहा हूँ. The limit was there. It says rupees 1 crore or second limit was 2% of average amount of goods exported in preceding year. So preceding 3 years rather I would say. Preceding 3 years में मैंने जो भी goods export किए थे उन सब का एक average amount निकालो और उस average figure का 2%. That is option 1. And a parallel basis option 2 was 1 crore. Now 1 crore or 2% whichever is lower. So for example मेरा average amount of export पिछले 3 साल का आता है on let's say 10 crore. So 10 crore का 2%, I think we are talking about somewhere around 20 lakhs. So 20 lakhs or 1 crore whichever is lower. I mean this is just a number I am putting. Let us say my total amount turns out to be 100 crore. So if it is 100 crore, average amount I am saying. So if it is 100 crore, तो उसका 2% होता है 2 crore or 1 crore whichever is lower. So basically government is very clearly saying that preceding 3 years का जो आपका export का figure है उसका average amount निकालो और उस average का 2% और उसे compare करो 1 crore whichever is lower के हिसाब से जो figure आता है उतनी amount के goods आपको free of cost as an export promotion sample की तरह देने देंगे, उससे ज़्यादा नहीं. बिकॉज फॉरेन एक्सचेंज आप जनरेट कर रहे हो और बहुत बड़ी अमाउंट का कर रहे हो तो उसके सामने हम आपको कुछ क्वांटिटी फ्री ऑफ कॉस्ट देने देंगे, उससे ज़्यादा देने नहीं देंगे. तो स्टेटस होल्डर्स को ये क्वांटिटी अलाउड थी. नाउ व्हाट इज एन अमेंडमेंट? सो अमेंडमेंट इज वेरी क्लियर दैट 1 करोड़ और 2% ऑफ एवरेज था ना, विच एवर इज लोअर. सो 1 करोड़ हैज बीन रिमूव्ड. So now you have only one limit and that is 2% of average amount of goods exported in preceding 3 years. That's it. 2% of average amount of goods exported in preceding 3 years. That's the only limit which is left. The limit of 1 crore is not to be considered. But that is a small amendment that has been brought. Now the important point is उसमें भी एक category create किया है. माने क्या? So ये जो अब एक ही ऑप्शन बचा annual limit of 2%. So what is that limit? Okay, annual limit of 2% of average annual export realization during the preceding licensing years of all exporters. So अगर मेरा पिछले 3 साल का जो एवरेज अमाउंट आ रहा है जिसका मैंने एक्सपोर्ट किया है, जिसके सामने फॉरेन एक्सचेंज जनरेट हुआ है, उस फिगर का कितना परसेंट? 2% मुझे अलाउ कर देंगे फॉर ऑल एक्सपोर्टर. नाउ आई डोंट हैव टू कंपेयर विथ 1 करोड़. सो 1 करोड़ के साथ कंपैरिजन का नहीं गिनना है। सो अगर मान लो कि कोई 1000 करोड़ का एक्सपोर्ट कर रहा है तो उसका 2% 20 करोड़ होगा, तो 20 करोड़ और 1% विच एवरेज लोअर, तो क्या 20 करोड़ और 1 करोड़ विच एवरेज लोअर, तो कि 1 करोड़ ही मिलेगा मुझे, जबकि एक्चुअली मुझे 20 करोड़ का मिलना चाहिए। सो दैट इज वेयर गवर्नमेंट ब्रॉट एन अमेंडमेंट कि ओके आप 20 करोड़ तक का फ्री ऑफ कॉस्ट एक्सपोर्ट करो, नॉट अ प्रॉब्लम बिकॉज दिस इज एक्सपोर्ट प्रमोशन। बट जो अमेंडमेंट आया है वो बहुत क्लियर आया है। देखो यहाँ पे बहुत क्लियरली लिखा है कि ये प्रोविजन अप्लाई होगा एक्सक्लूडिंग सर्टेन सेक्टर्स। तो कुछ सेक्टर्स में ये प्रोविजन एप्लीकेबल नहीं होगा, जैसे कि नंबर 1 जेम्स एंड ज्वेलरी, नंबर 2 आर्टिकल्स ऑफ गोल्ड एंड प्रेशियस मेटल्स। सो बेसिकली ज्वेलरी सेक्टर के लिए ये अलाउड नहीं होगा कि उन्हें 2% का फ्री ऑफ कॉस्ट बेसिस पे गुड्स एक्सपोर्ट नहीं करने देंगे, अदर देन दैट और सेक्टर में करने देंगे। तो कोई बोले दैट मीन जेम्स एंड ज्वेलरी को कुछ नहीं करने देंगे, उस सेक्टर को कुछ नहीं करने देंगे, तो क्या उनके लिए पुरानी लिमिट कंटिन्यू रहेगी? आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट विच सेक्टर? जेम्स एंड ज्वेलरी एंड दोज पीपल हु आर मेकिंग आर्टिकल्स ऑफ गोल्ड एंड अदर प्रेशियस मेटल्स, उनके लिए ये पुरानी लिमिट ही रहेगी। क्या? तो क्या 1 करोड़ और 2% ऑफ एवरेज अमाउंट ऑफ एवरेज अमाउंट ऑफ एक्सपोर्ट प्रोसीड्स रिसीव्ड ड्यूरिंग प्रीसीडिंग 3 years whichever is lower. So for gems and jewelry and for people making articles of gold and precious metal, उन सब के लिए लिमिट पुराना ही रहेगा। बट अदर देन दैट जो बाकी के सेक्टर वाले हैं, ऑल अदर सेक्टर हु आर नॉट पार्ट ऑफ जेम्स एंड ज्वेलरी एंड आर नॉट मेकिंग आर्टिकल्स ऑफ गोल्ड एंड प्रेशियस मेटल्स, उन सब के लिए अब 2% लिमिट ही फॉलो करना है, 1 करोड़ की लिमिट फॉलो करने की जरूरत नहीं है। तो बस ये एक स्मॉल अमेंडमेंट है जो हमको कंसिडर करना है विथ रिगार्ड टू स्टेटस होल्डर स्कीम। And one more amendment is there which is with regard to MEIS scheme, which is what we called as merchandise export from India scheme. So those who have studied merchandise export from India scheme, I believe everyone is aware there was a specific point with regard to export of goods through e-commerce using foreign post office or courier companies. मैं वापस बोल रहा हूँ, there was a specific point with regard to export of goods through e-commerce. So e-commerce website के through हम लोग कुछ goods को export कर रहे हैं, जहाँ पे goods को outside India भेजा जाएगा either using foreign post office और भेजा जाएगा using courier. तो उस केस में एक लॉ में एक लिमिट प्रिस्क्राइब था, that is 25,000, मीनिंग thereby पर कंसाइनमेंट वैल्यू अगर 25,000 से नीचे होगा तो जो अमाउंट होगा उसके ऊपर गवर्नमेंट MEIS स्कीम में इंसेंटिव देगा, और पर कंसाइनमेंट वैल्यू अगर 25,000 से ज़्यादा होगा तो गवर्नमेंट इंसेंटिव तो देगा बट ओनली ऑन 25,000 ही, 25,000 के ऊपर ही इंसेंटिव देगा। फॉर एग्जांपल मान लो कि मैं किसी ई-कॉमर्स वेबसाइट के थ्रू 5 लाख रुपए के गुड्स एक्सपोर्ट कर रहा हूँ या 10 लाख रुपए के गुड्स एक्सपोर्ट कर रहा हूँ, कोई भी अमाउंट ले लो, 1 लाख रुपया ले लो, फॉर एग्जांपल 1 लाख रुपया ले लो, चलो। सो मैं किसी ई-कॉमर्स वेबसाइट के थ्रू 1 लाख रुपए के गुड्स एक्सपोर्ट कर रहा हूँ यूजिंग टेकिंग हेल्प ऑफ कुरियर कंपनी। सो आई विल एक्सपोर्ट गुड्स अल्टीमेटली। नाउ उस एक्सपोर्ट गुड्स के ऊपर मुझे इंसेंटिव चाहिए, गवर्नमेंट दे रहा है इंसेंटिव लेट्स से 5%, तो मुझे 1 लाख के ऊपर 5% का इंसेंटिव चाहिए, तो मुझे एक्चुअली 5,000 रुपये का इंसेंटिव मिलना चाहिए। बट द पॉइंट इज लॉ में ये बोला है कि जब कंसाइनमेंट वैल्यू 1 लाख रुपए के ऊपर होगा तो हम लोग इंसेंटिव देंगे, बट कंसाइनमेंट वैल्यू जब 25,000 रुपए से ऊपर होगा तो हम लोग इंसेंटिव तो देंगे बट वी विल गिव इंसेंटिव ओनली ऑन द वैल्यू ऑफ 25,000, वी विल नॉट गिव मोर देन दैट अमाउंट इंसेंटिव। मैं वापस बोल रहा हूँ, जब हम लोग ई-कॉमर्स के थ्रू गुड्स एक्सपोर्ट कर रहे हैं यूजिंग फॉरेन पोस्ट ऑफिस और कुरियर कंपनी, देन पर कंसाइनमेंट वैल्यू की जो लिमिट है दैट हैज बीन प्रिस्क्राइब्ड एज 25,000। अगर हमारे कंसाइनमेंट की वैल्यू 25,000 से ज्यादा है, जो मेरे केस में 1 लाख है, तो मुझे इंसेंटिव तो देंगे बट मुझे इंसेंटिव ओनली 25,000 की वैल्यू के ऊपर ही देंगे, मुझे फुल अमाउंट के ऊपर इंसेंटिव नहीं देंगे। सो दो आई एम जनरेटिंग फॉरेन एक्सचेंज वर्थ 1 लाख रुपीज बट आई विल गेट एन इंसेंटिव ओनली ऑफ एन अमाउंट अप टू 25,000, नॉट मोर देन दैट। एज कंपेयर टू दैट अगर मान लो कि मेरा कंसाइनमेंट वैल्यू 15,000 रुपया है तो मुझे इंसेंटिव 15,000 के ऊपर ही मिलेगा। सो 25,000 वॉज एन अपर लिमिट। If my goods value which I am exporting through foreign post office or courier company using e-commerce website, then if my goods value is above 25,000 then incentive will be granted only on 25,000, and if my goods value is below 25,000 then incentive will be granted on the actual amount only. Now what they did is they brought an amendment over here. What amendment they brought? So okay, of 25,000 they have revised the amount as 5 lakh. I mean sudden big change. नाउ दे से कि अगर आपकी कंसाइनमेंट वैल्यू, अगेन सेम क्राइटेरिया, ई कॉमर्स के थ्रू सप्लाई कर रहे हो यूजिंग फॉरेन पोस्ट ऑफिस और यूजिंग कुरियर कंपनी, ठीक है। और जो गुड्स आप सप्लाई कर रहे हो उसकी पर कंसाइनमेंट वैल्यू के लिए ये पॉइंट है। अगर कंसाइनमेंट वैल्यू 5 लाख से नीचे है तो जो एक्चुअल अमाउंट है उसी के ऊपर इंसेंटिव मिलेगा। सो अगर 1 लाख रुपए के गुड्स है तो उसी के ऊपर इंसेंटिव मिलेगा। और अगर कंसाइनमेंट वैल्यू 5 लाख रुपए से ऊपर है तो इंसेंटिव मिलेगा, बट ओनली ऑन 5 लाख रुपीज, नॉट मोर देन दैट। So if it is below 5 lakh, incentive will be only on the actual amount. अगर 2 लाख रुपया है तो 2 लाख के ऊपर इंसेंटिव मिलेगा, अगर 1 लाख रुपया है तो 1 लाख रुपए के ऊपर इंसेंटिव मिलेगा। बट अगर ज़्यादा अमाउंट है 5 लाख से तो जो ज़्यादा अमाउंट है उसके ऊपर इंसेंटिव नहीं मिलेगा, ओनली 5 लाख रुपए के ऊपर इंसेंटिव मिलेगा। और अगर कम अमाउंट है तो जो एक्चुअल अमाउंट है उसके ऊपर इंसेंटिव मिलेगा। बस देयर इज अ स्मॉल चेंज ब्रॉट अंडर MEIS स्कीम। सो आई थिंक ये 3 अमेंडमेंट्स है जो हमें कंसिडर करने हैं विथ रिगार्ड टू विच कैटेगरी, फॉरेन ट्रेड पॉलिसी। इसके अलावा जो भी अमेंडमेंट्स है वो फॉरेन ट्रेड पॉलिसी के रिगार्डिंग नहीं है, वो अदर प्रोविजंस के रिगार्डिंग है। बट फॉरेन ट्रेड पॉलिसी के रिगार्डिंग खाली ये 3 अमेंडमेंट्स रहेंगे।